We're incredibly fortunate to live in a global biodiversity hotspot, and as our area becomes more and more fragmented, that can decrease the health of the ecosystem. So this initiative and effort is designed to help us build the links back into the landscape and keep it open and accessible. It's our belief that connected landscapes are resilient landscapes. We know already that one of the most important things we can do to adapt to a changing climate is to keep these lifelines open along our riparians and ridgelines to persist and thrive into the future. The purpose of the initiative is to build a community and a culture of coexistence. And we want to increase the pace and scale of projects that help wildlife, plants and animals move across the landscape and be able to adapt to changing conditions. And our work here has three main goals. We're going to build a community of wildlife champions who are supporting this work and making their properties, their places, where they live more conducive to coexisting with wildlife. Second, if we are able to identify important places on the landscape that are barriers to movement, we want to identify ways to restore those areas and give animals the freedom to roam across the landscape. And thirdly, we want to encourage neighbors and landowners and working ranches to adopt wildlife-friendly practices. So we're going to be measuring the amount of acres that we can increase the wildlife-friendly practices as well as landscape scale protection for wildlife. As part of our goal of building a community of wildlife champions, we have a program called the Conservation Science Internship Program. The interns are involved in the field projects in the long-term forest monitoring plots. These monitoring plots are very comprehensive. They have wildlife cameras, they have climate sensors, they have transects that we measure fuels and herbaceous layers and trees, and cover boards, which are essentially plywood squares that we lay out into 3 different transects, and on a regular schedule we come through, we flip over the boards, and then we identify the species that are there. Amphibians, the reptiles, the insects are primarily what we're tracking. Pepperwood has been a leader in remote camera sensing, and we have put one of the first gridded approaches called the Wildlife Picture Index in North America. And the interns help us process and identify the species of wildlife that we detect on the cameras.
My name's Stephen Hamrick, Wildlife Specialist here at Pepperwood Preserve. We're out on the preserve just south of Telegraph Hill in the Chaparral area at one of our camera locations for our Wildlife Picture Index project. Here at the preserve, we have 20 cameras set up on a 1-kilometer grid for our Wildlife Picture Index project. We've been collecting this data since 2012, so we have 10 years of camera data. One of the advantages of having cameras on this project is that the cameras are working day and night, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If it weren't for the cameras, we really wouldn't know what the wildlife's doing on the preserve. We rarely see any wildlife in person when we're out and about. Pepperwood is part of the North Bay Bear Collaborative, who's trying to learn more about black bears in Sonoma County. Starting in 2020, we started collecting bear scat for DNA analysis. And in 2020 alone, we determined that we had 9 different bears here on the preserve, 3 females and 6 males. We're really focused on connectivity between protected areas so that wildlife have the opportunity to have a larger landscape for which to live.
It's been a privilege to work with the collaborative and all the private-public partners to take a broad view of what we can do here in Sonoma County to create this culture of coexistence and proactively engage our community to get ahead of some of the potential wildlife-human conflict issues and really help people understand that there's a lot that we can do.